Today on Timeless Adventures, we're headed to Zion National Park. After a long day of hiking in Bryce Canyon, we drove to the Zion Mountain Ranch. The ranch is an 8,000-acre wilderness retreat that sits just 3 miles from the east entrance of Zion. We stayed in one of their standalone cabins that had 2 king beds. It was very clean and a perfect place to stay. We enjoyed our quiet, peaceful stay in this rustic cabin. We started off our stay there with a great dinner at their on-site restaurant. The Cordwood restaurant focuses on organic farm-to-table food that was absolutely delicious. After dinner, we enjoyed going outside and watching the herd of American bison. We looked at the many horses and enjoyed playing with the dogs that lived there on the ranch. The Zion Mountain Ranch has nightly campfires for roasting marshmallows. The ranch sits at 6,000 feet, so in the evenings it gets kind of chilly. The next morning we got up early and met our guide in Orderville, Utah. Our guide drove us back in a UTV to the Crimson Slot Canyon. The Slot Canyon is located in the backcountry of East Zion on privately owned land. There's no public access, so to experience this incredible slot canyon, you must book a tour. This 2-hour hike led us through towering 100-foot-high red sandstone walls that squeezed into narrow passages just 6 to 10 feet wide. Our guide helped us navigate large boulders and safely scramble up 8 to 10-foot walls.
Yeah, just start pushing whatever you can. Get that right foot up underneath your buttocks and then scissor up.
Okay.
There you go. Once you put that left hand back across behind you, did you notice how your balance changed?
It did, yeah.
Just so you know, I had knee surgery 5 months before this hike. I was a little nervous and not as graceful as Angelina, but our guide was fantastic in leading us through this canyon. This hike was incredible. The towering walls created a breathtaking atmosphere where the natural light filtered down from above to illuminate the narrow canyon. What makes this tour so nice, it was only us and the guide. Because it sits outside the main crowded trails of Zion, it offers a more secluded and intimate experience, which Angelina and I just absolutely loved. A couple of things that might make this experience even better is having water hiking shoes on. We had to wade through ankle-deep water at one point. Another thing is to make sure you have a safe place to put your phone and camera because you'll need your hands when climbing. Trust me, I learned the hard way. It was an incredible morning. We consider this a must-do adventure when visiting Zion. We got back into our car and drove to Zion. We entered the East Gate around 11 a.m. Up ahead is the Checkerboard Mesa Rock Formation. The natural crosshatch pattern on the surface was caused by erosion. The road we are on is the Zion Mount Carmel Highway. It's the most scenic way to get from Interstate 15 to Highway 89. The first hike we were planning on going on in Zion was the Canyon Overlook Trail. It's been a while since we've hiked this trail, but it's incredibly rewarding. It's an easy 1-mile round-trip hike that provides dramatic views of the valley below. After this shorter tunnel, we know we're getting closer to the 1.1-mile Zion Mount Carmel Tunnel. The trailhead to the Canyon Overlook starts immediately on the east side of this tunnel. As we got closer to the tunnel and the trailhead, the busier it got. There was so much traffic and hordes of people. Unfortunately, we couldn't find a parking spot. I guess anymore, if you want to go on this hike, you have to go early in the morning to avoid the traffic. We were shocked at the amount of traffic we saw. This was a stark difference from the Slot Canyon this morning. I guess visiting Zion in June was not the best idea. This historic Zion Mount Carmel Tunnel is an engineering marvel. It was completed in 1930 and was built to connect Zion Canyon with Bryce Canyon and the Grand Canyon, forming a vital 10-day grand loop for early visitors. This road spans 25 miles connecting the park's south and east entrances. It has spectacular views. It cuts through the sandstone cliffs and ascends over 800 feet, snaking its way to the valley floor. Zion was Utah's first national park and established in 1919. This 229 square mile oasis is known for its cream, pink, and red sandstone cliffs. It's one of the most visited parks in the country. We're headed to the visitor center near the south entrance. To protect the canyon's fragile environment, the main canyon scenic drive is closed to personal vehicles for most of the year. Zion provides a free shuttle service with 9 stops taking visitors to the end of the scenic drive. When we arrived at the visitor center, they have a massive parking lot. We tried to look for a parking spot so that we could take the shuttle and go on some of our favorite hikes in Zion. The parking lot was packed. We drove around for a little bit, but there were no spots. I love Zion, but I cannot handle the amount of people. A few days earlier, we visited the northern part of Zion, Kolob Canyon. Here's a map showing Kolob Canyon with respect to the main part of Zion. The circle shows the location of the main area, and the arrow shows the location of the tunnel that we went through. Kolob Canyon is much further north, as shown with this circle. There are no roads between Kolob Canyon and the main section of Zion National Park. They have entirely separate entrances connected only by deep, remote backcountry. Kolob Canyon can be accessed here off of Interstate 15. Kolob Canyon was not always part of Zion. In 1956, it was formally incorporated into Zion. Kolob Canyon is a stunning, crowd-free northwest section of Zion National Park. It offers visitors a chance to experience the same dramatic red rock beauty as the main canyon without the heavy traffic or shuttle requirements. It's famous for its 2,000-foot Navajo Sandstone Cliffs. The canyon is named from the word Kolob in the Mormon scriptures, where it refers to a star or planet that is situated nearest to the throne of God. The Kolob Canyon Road is 5 miles from the visitor center to the Timber Creek Overlook Trailhead. Our first stop is at the Taylor Creek Trailhead, as seen here. We had no problem finding a parking spot. We got out of the car and began our 5-mile round-trip hike that leads hikers deep into a narrow box canyon. The trail begins by walking downstairs to creek level and then back up a small hill. Make sure you bring lots of water. The beginning of the trail there is very little shade and it gets hot in the summer. As you make your way back to the narrow box canyon, it gets much cooler. The trail traverses the middle fork of Taylor Creek. The creek winds between cottonwood trees and ponderosa pines. In the winter, the conditions can be very icy. In the spring and summer, plan on getting your feet wet. We wore our hiking water shoes because the trail crosses over the creek around 60 times. The trail officially ends when you reach the magnificent double arch alcove. The structures are actually deep, water-carved alcoves rather than a true open-aired arch. Once we got back to the alcove, it was very cool, making for a wonderful summer escape from the heat. The Navajo sandstone allows groundwater to continuously seep through the rock. This moisture fuels lush hanging gardens, moss, and creates a dramatic black, white, and orange mineral-stained streaks across the rock. It was absolutely spectacular hanging out under the alcove. This was the first time we did the hike, and we are sure glad we did. We started to hear thunder, so that was our cue to head back to the car. On our way back, we stopped and looked at the Fife and Larson cabins. The families built them in the 1930s and used these homesteads as seasonal retreats. The homesteading era was short-lived, largely due to the Great Depression and government intervention. We walked back rather quickly because of the thunder we were hearing. Being in a box canyon when you hear thunder can be incredibly dangerous because of sudden flash floods and deadly lightning strikes. The thunderstorms can produce heavy rain that funnels the water into the canyon. This can create walls of water, trapping hikers. It took us a little over 3 hours to hike the 5 miles, take pictures, and enjoy the double arch alcove. This was a wonderful hike and we really enjoyed it. We got back into the car and continued up the road. The route climbs over 1,000 feet. Unlike the bustling Zion Canyon, Kolob offers a more serene wilderness feel. It is an excellent place to escape all the crowds. Don't get me wrong, I really love Zion Canyon, but when I go out to nature, I prefer a quieter, more peaceful place where I can appreciate the beauty around me. When we were at the main part of Zion Canyon, we felt like we were at Disney World. Along the road, we stopped at multiple pullouts to view the deep V-shaped box canyons carved into the western edge of the Colorado Plateau. Here's a few pictures we took trying to capture the beauty of this area. The road continues winding through a spectacular landscape of soaring Navajo sandstone walls. At the end is the Timber Creek Overlook. This is the end of the scenic drive and sits at an elevation of 6,300 feet. Once we were at their end, we took an easy 1-mile round-trip hike along the ridge for spectacular panoramic views. On a clear day, you could even see Mount Trumbull on the north rim of the Grand Canyon, which is over 100 miles away. This short hike is a must-do hike because of the spectacular panoramic views. After the short hike, we headed back down. Kolob features 3 main hiking trails. We did 2 of them today. The third one is Kolob Arch Trail. This is a 14-mile round-trip hike that takes about 8 hours. It's moderately strenuous because of the length. This trail leads you to one of the world's largest freestanding arches. In addition, there's several multi-day backcountry trails that connect to a broader Zion wilderness. Visit the Visitor Center for more information and for backcountry permits. Up here on the right is the parking lot for the Kolob Arch Trail. We didn't have time during this visit to hike this trail, but here's a picture of the Kolob Arch. We think Kolob Canyon is just as spectacular as Zion Canyon. Both areas of Zion have their own unique beauty and offer something for everyone. Most people only have the opportunity to visit the main area of Zion Canyon, but they are definitely missing out. We think Kolob Canyon is the forgotten jewel of Zion National Park. Now off to our next adventure.